Hello and welcome to another spicy, gingerish kind of chess thingy-majiggy, whatever we're going to do today. And hopefully it's going to be a bit of fun, maybe a little bit educational, maybe very educational. I don't know. We'll see how things go. But yeah, should be a fun hour and a half. About maybe a little bit longer. We'll see where the tide takes us, shall we? To be sure. So yeah, first of all, hello to everyone out there. Hopefully you can hear and see me okie dokily. And well, I've done quite a lot of videos today. But I must admit, it's been a tough couple of last two YouTube videos I've done. I did one yesterday, and it was a long play game, and I was facing, I think, a cheat, unfortunately, someone using their free membership. And I've now got a new job. Basically, if you watch my YouTube channel, I'm now employed by chess.com as a cheat detector. So I normally find the cheats on chess.com and they get kicked off as soon as I play them. So that's my new job. They have very good cheat detection, which is good. Get rid of them very quickly when they're found. And I decided then to play a bit of Blitz earlier today. Absolutely astronomically bad. Absolutely terrible. It was awful. Absolutely awful. I don't know, I actually dropped under 2400 Blitz rating, which I haven't been for a long time. So I'm hoping this is going to get a little bit better now. But really, that draws me into the first game I'm going to show you. I was going to play a rivals match with Danny, but he's done a runner. He's obviously terrified of my awful play recently. No, I think he's very busy, so we're going to have to wait for the rivals match until another time, I'm afraid to say. But I'm sure me and Danny will be doing a rivals match shortly. I'm going to try to also get one going with John Bartholomew again at some point, and maybe some other special guests. But really, because my day's been going so bad, oh, thank you very much. A donation, woohoo, woohoo! That's very kind of you, Fail Availability. Very kind of you. And yes, of course, you can donate, and thank you very much for the donation, Fail Availability. And grab 'em by the cat. Charlie the ginger cat is actually, it's raining cats and dogs, do you like what I did there, outside, and Charlie's asleep sort of by my feet at the moment. He came in soaking wet, and I think he's got fleas as well, so great. Yeah, so if I start scratching, it's because of Charlie. Okay, anyway, so yeah, it brings me to the first game, and I you know, because I've been out a bit of a bad roll, we all have it in chess, I'm sure you guys get it as well. I'm very up and down because of my style of play, but you know, I'm always quite confident, and even though I'm going through a slump, I know generally I'll come out of that and be stronger and better. Well, I've got to tell myself that, or I was like, give up, might as well give up. But I thought I'd show you a disastrous game I had. It was quite a funny game. It was quite an amusing game, but it was also pretty disastrous. And I think it sums up sort of my style in some form, basically, that, you know, I'm pretty hit and miss. But one thing I tend to do is get a little bit carried away. And, you know, this is something that you've got to avoid doing in chess. You've got to, you know, it's a cold-hearted, brutal game. And you've got to keep that cold-heartedness. Sorry, I'm just trying to, as you can see, play about with the donation button while talking, multitasking. They say that I couldn't do it. Can I do it? Can I multitask? Well, we'll leave it there. That'll do, won't it? I mean, come on. Not everything can't be perfect in life. And this game is quite amusing. You've got to see the funny side of this game. I had the white pieces, and I was playing in the 4NCL Chess League, which is basically a league in Britain where the four nations of Britain, so you have England, Ireland, Scotland, and not Ireland, Northern Ireland, excuse me, England, Northern Ireland, Scotland, and Wales taking part in. And I was playing for my team, so it was a team event. You know, more pressure when it's a team event. It doesn't matter so much messing up for yourself, but when you mess up for other people, It's pretty blooming terrible. So let's have a look at the game. It was quite interesting, and I'm following my main attacking repertoire, which I normally always play with white. It normally gives me very interesting positions out of the opening. One of my DVDs, Killer D4, covers most of it. And I start with white with D4. My opponent comes out with E6, and the game develops quite normally. Knight F3, Knight F6, and now C4. And this is the so-called Queen's Indian defense. If I'd have gone Knight C3 instead of Knight F3 at some point, it'd probably be a Nimzo Indian after a Bishop B4. But one of the advantages of playing Knight to F3 here is that if my opponent goes check, I don't have to put my knight on C3 like a Nimzo. A better move generally would be able to put a piece on D2, either the knight or the bishop, because that avoids a potential doubling of pawns, and white's a little bit better there. So it's a slightly different variation to the Nimzo Indian. And okay, so my opponent now played D5, going into a Queen's Indian. I'm just looking at some of the chat here, and people are saying terrible delays. Is this what's going on? What's going on? What's going on here? So, okay, tell me. Hopefully, it seems to be streaming okay at my end. Let me know if anything's going a bit funny. I'm sure it's not. So I've got perfect computer and perfect internet here, surely. So the game now developed, Knight C3, Bishop E7, and this is one of the oldest variations in basically in chess, really. It's the Queen's Indian defense, and this is the standard sort of structure. Okay, people are saying it's good. That's cool. It should be good. Yeah, come on, go and get yourself a better connection if you can't watch it. It's not me. It has to be you. That's my philosophy of life. It's not me. It's you. And now the two main moves here: Bishop G5, which is the older variation because you need to develop your pieces in chess, and Bishop to F4. And I prefer Bishop F4 because it follows a normal pattern that is very easy to play. And what I look for in chess are easy middle game patterns that give me the kind of attacking possibilities I enjoy playing. And I've won so many games after castles E3 with a very simple idea here. And my simple idea is to checkmate my opponent on H7. You might think, what on earth am I going on about? Well, one of the main lines is C5. And this was first played, well, it first came famous in a game between two English top players, Jonathan Spielman, who got to the semi-final of the World Championships, and Nigel Short, who got to the final of the World Championships. The following variation, and Spielman played pawn takes pawn here, Queen C2, and this had been played thousands of times before. Now, knight to C6, knight to B4 is a bit annoying, so you go A3. Nigel plays Queen A5, and now this new idea, well, I say new, it's about 20 years old now, castles queenside. And the pattern that I love playing in this position is as follows. It's very simple, and one little tip I give to you is, if you remember simple middle game patterns in positions that are likely to occur, you're only bound to get better. And the pattern here is H4, Knight G5, checkmate on H7. Boom. How easy is that? So, for example, if A6, well, Bishop E7 is the main line, H4, and now, like, say A6, Knight G5, and if black tries to play something like H6 here, who gives a damn? I certainly don't. I now just have to get rid of the knight on F6, because that's the only piece defending here, so I take on D5, and now my opponent is completely lost. And I'm sure I've shown you this kind of thing before. Pawn takes here, and it's bad news for my opponent, because he's going to get mated over here. And the other thing here, after pawn takes D5, is if my opponent takes back, I can go knight takes D5. I'm trying to hit this knight here, checkmate on H7. And I might have shown you this before in another stream, this kind of idea, but I think it's worth reminding you, because it's something that's won me loads of games, and I do the setup against so many different ideas. as we're going to see in the game. My opponent, instead of playing c5, played what I'd say is a bit of a amateurish move, c6. Now, this looks like a normal move, but one thing I find that lower rated players do is they basically can play very passive against higher rated players, and this move doesn't have much of a point in this position. What's it actually doing? Yes, you're reinforcing d5, but d5 was pretty reinforced anyway, wasn't it? It takes away a potential square for the knight, so really it's just a loss of tempo. So I continue with my plan. Queen c2, you know what my plan is now. You can see you can play this against many different setups, especially if my opponent's going to play something slow and, you know, not really causing me any damage. b6 here, very slow move. So what do? Let's hear it. Come on, let's hear it. Let's hear you say it. Let's hear you say it. I want everyone in their living rooms now, or if they're at work, to say it. Who's going to say it? Who's going to say it? What is the move? The move is, you know what the move is now. I've given it away a little bit. h4. And Harry the h-pawn. And did you love that picture of me from my bodybuilding days? I know I've shown you that one before. And thank you for the artwork there to Christoph. And yeah, and the idea is the same. So knight bd7, and I could go knight g5 straight away, but why not castle queenside, because this is a useful move to play. And now after bishop b7, knight g5. And again, I just want to sort of show you, get to this point. I'm going to go through this quickly because I'm going to show you where things went wrong. e4, pawn takes e4, and now we got this lovely position where I have a great attack against h7. And I just want to show you the one moment in this game where I just played disastrous, because I think it's quite amusing to start with. I've got some puzzles after that. Puzzle hours coming up. Knight to f8. It's got to stop checkmate. And now develop and attack. Bishop d3. This is a fantastic position for me. I've got all the attacking chances. My opponent is very passive. Just what I want in a chess position. And now queen to c8. When your opponent plays a move, always think what your opponent does and look at his last move and try to consider what he's trying to do. Well, my opponent is clearly trying to play c5 here to try to get a little bit of counterplay. So I'm not too worried about that because I've got d5. But I also need to increase the pressure on the position. Now, first question, what is wrong with knight takes h7 here? I mean, this is a move that you should look at straight away. Let's get you involved with the show. I'm looking at the chat on basically Twitch and on chess.com, and I'm going to go through this very quickly because I know you may have seen this before, but I just wanted to show you this amusing start, and then we're going to go with some crazy tactics after this. Actually, I've got some tactics you wouldn't have seen before because I got them. I spent quite a lot of time finding these. Well, yeah, of course, here the move to play is a move that gets in the way of the diagonal towards h7. Just f5, and I'm going to lose a piece. So we need to think of a different way to attack in this position, and we need to find a target. So I found a good move, queen f3, and the idea here is to reroute the queen over to h5 when I'll be attacking two of my opponent's weak points. So when you're attacking, you basically, you need to, first of all, consider whether you have time to attack. If your opponent's not really threatening anything, my opponent isn't, fair enough, we can go and attack. You need to find targets to attack, and you need to make sure you have a good foundation to attack. What I mean by that is good developed pieces, which I have here, good castle king, and generally a good attacking position. So my opponent played c5, queen h5. Things are looking terrible for my opponent here. I'm threatening queen takes f7. One of the great points of having Harry stuck up on Harry 4 is that if my opponent ever takes my knight, then Harry moves to Gary, he changes over, and my rook is released, and this is a phenomenal attack I get on the h-file. So there's only one way to stop f7, g6, my queen creeps into the position, and now bishop to f6. So this is really one of the main points that I'm going to ask you what you should do here. And, you know, again, when your opponent plays a move, you should always look at the move they play, bishop f6, and you should always consider what they're trying to do. So it could be a little bit embarrassing if black plays bishop g7. Oh my words, yes, that will be. So what would you guys play as white? And a little tip I give here, which I said before, and this is one of my main problems, I get carried away with craziness, but you should basically just play the simple option if it gives you a good position. So I went a little bit nuts here, but what is a simple good move here? Why get flashy? I get too carried away. And as Jay Loose 12345 has said, and as people Vad Vansky, Jolly Bishop, I like that, Jolly Bishop. It sounds like a pub in England, Jolly Bishop, and that's a pub I'd like to visit. Bishop e5 is just a very simple, good move, because we're getting rid of a good defender of my opponent's king. I'm keeping my queen on this good square, and my opponent is pretty defenseless here in the long run, because at some point my plan's to go Harry 5, take on g6, and then just demolition on the h-file. I think any other tactical ideas like knight takes h7, you have to be very careful when you play a move like this, followed by bishop here. You're giving up everything. This is a suggestion of someone in the chat. You're 2 pieces down, and I don't think this is winning because the queen can come over to defend. You're probably actually just losing here. Ira 669, there you go, son. So this is what, but then, okay, the problem was here. Then I saw an amazing possibility, and I saw this h5 move, and I thought, oh, I like this. And let me ask you a question now. After bishop g7, which my opponent played, I now had the spark of inspiration of taking on g6. And what was my idea after bishop takes queen? Which obviously I had to calculate in advance. So what is white's idea? Well, white's idea, that's actually me. What is my idea in this position? And I did have an idea. I don't just want to lose my queen for the hell of it. I actually do want to attack. Don't guess what is, it's actually a force checkmate here. And it's a very nice checkmate. And I'm just showing this game to try to get your little tactic juices flowing, because I've got lots of tactical juices coming up a little bit later. So don't just tell me one move here. Imagine you're white here. It's white to play and win. And I have this rule, which I think is well worth following for when you're in a position like this, when you're attacking, when you're going forwards, when you're giving your opponent some, when you're having a crack at him. I have a rule, and it's basically a 3-part rule. Rule number 1, look for the crash, bang, wallop. Look for the kill. So look for checks, because they're the most, dangerous moves. Work out the checks as much as you can. If it's mate, play it. If it's not, move on to the next thing. Look at captures. Captures are the next most forcing thing. If that doesn't work, move on to creating threats. If you can't create any big threats, then you have to think about bringing in reinforcements, pieces that are not doing anything. So, for example, the rook on d1, I'd be looking at trying to get that into the attack. And actually, this rook plays an important part in the attack here. And by the way, Koval's Super GM is analysing like a Super GM. Well done, Koval. That is on the Twitch chat. And I'm just giving other people a chance to solve this on the chess.com chat. For the first time, it seems like people on the Twitch chat are getting the solution quicker than people on the chess.com chat. So I'll give you a clue. Every move pretty much is a forcing check move. So how do we do it? Have you worked it out yet, guys and girls? Well, let's have a look. First of all, we take on f7 with check. And this leaves black 2 options. King g7 or king h8. Now we can rule out king g7 because it's checkmate in 1 move, and the bishop comes to e5, and this is a very pretty checkmate. As you can see, the bishops are like cannons about to release their balls on the black king. I keep saying that. It doesn't sound right, does it, for some reason? But you know what I mean, cannonballs, of course. And that is why after the check, king h8 would have been forced. But now we can deliver checkmate with bishop e5 check, bishop g7. And now in this position, there is a key idea. And it's quite a beautiful idea because I've already given up my queen, so I have to do forcing moves here. So again, I should be looking at the most forcing possibilities. And it goes back to the rule I just said. When attacking, look at the checks, look at the captures, but when you're looking at these things, also look at your pieces, which aren't doing anything, and try to get them in the attack. And here, well, I can play rook takes h7 check, giving up another rook. And the point is, after knight takes h7, I bring in the reinforcements. Rook to h1. And in this position, basically, there's no possible way that black can stop rook takes h7 checkmate. This is unstoppable. I mean, have a look at the position. It's quite beautiful. So this is why I went for the artistic finish, because I saw this variation. And of course, this is checkmate. I mean, okay, black can delay it, but then I take the bishop. But it doesn't matter. The rook is going to take here, and it's going to be checkmate. Boom! Put that in your pipe and smoke it. Keep calm and put that in your pipe and smoke it like an Englishman. That's what we say in Dear Blighty. We have our Dear Blighty sayings. So that would have delivered checkmate. So my opponent saw this and he decided he couldn't do that, and he just took back here. And now I played a very lazy move. I don't know if you guys ever get this when you're playing a game. You might get excited. You might get a little bit carried away, and rather than calculating things thoroughly, which you need to do, I mean, I have this rule that when I see a tactical operation, like a sequence of moves, rather than diving, well, I didn't do it in this game, but I certainly do it, you know, it gives me much better results when I do. Calculate it out. If you think it's working, don't dive in and play it. Make sure you double check things. I always double check. So now if I see a beautiful win or a checkmate, I take a deep breath, do a little bit of meditation, and I double check it. And then I even triple check it if I'm, you know, a little bit nervous. In this position, I did not. I should simply play a move here, like move my queen back when I have an unstoppable attack, because all my pieces are facing off against his king. But instead, I got carried away and I played the beautiful bishop takes g6. Crash, bang, wallop. And my idea is the same as before. Bishop takes h6, and then I banged. Imagine this, my team is watching, and my team's probably thinking, what on earth is Simon doing? He's gone crazy again. He's lost the plot. He needs some professional help. And I was thinking, I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to create the best ever chess game ever. And I banged out my next move. Boom! Bishop f7 check. He can't go to g7. Bishop e5 would be checkmate. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. So he plays king to h8. I thought for about half a second. I played bishop e5 check. Boom! Put that in your pipe and smoke it. He played the only move, and then I played my next move with a flurry of brilliance. I was so proud of myself. My whole team had gathered around. The opposing team had gathered around. I played rook takes h7. Boom! Check. And now my opponent played knight takes, and I banged out my next move. I was looking very smug, waiting for my opponent to resign. Oh yeah, oh yeah. And then what did my opponent suddenly play in this position, and which destroyed my dreams and made me look like a very small and insignificant, that's the word, insignificant fool. And it's just a lesson to show you, sit on your hands. I mean, oh my words, this was terrible, boys and girls, terrible. And it is sad. Oh, hello, I can see my very good friend Adam Hunt is in the chat. Hello, Adam. I'm glad to see you in there. International Master Adam Hunt, who is a fellow ginger. We are actually going to try and have an all ginger team one day, and we're going to call it Team Ginger. Ginger magic, I think, was the professional word, but there's not enough gingers in the world who can play chess, and I probably wouldn't even make the team after this absolute embarrassment. Well, my opponent now played the shocking, there's only one way to stop this. He played this move, and I suddenly realised I've given up my queen and my rook. I'm not checkmating, and I look like an utter, complete, stupid, big fool. And the big difference here is that in the last line, this guy here was on d3, where I could just take the bishop, and I had literally rushed into things, and I had not considered that my bishop is here. Actually, what I need now is another rook on d1. You know, if I had another rook on d1, I could go another rook takes h7 check, and then I can move another rook to h1. I needed 3 rooks in this game. Give me 3 rooks. Please give me 3 rooks. But no, I didn't. And I just resigned here, and I went to the bar. Wah, wah, wah. Okay, right. Well, I think what we're going to do, I'm going to try and play a long play game a bit later. Maybe in a second, but let's test you guys out with some puzzles now. I've got some puzzles saved up, and I've hand-picked them. I think they've got some beautiful elements to them, and I think it's quite nice when I give you guys a chance to solve the puzzles. And you know, I think it gives you a chance. Try not. I mean, what's the point of cheating? I'm so sick of cheaters now. You know, I think they should be put in prison, cheaters. So what's the point of cheating? There's no point of cheating. You know, it doesn't look big. Try to work these out yourself. If you can't work them out, it doesn't matter. I'll give you a bit of time. I'm going to give you the first puzzle in a second. Let me just set it up. And I wish you the best of luck. So I'm just going to get my puzzle set up position. That was me in my clown uniform earlier today. Hope you like it. I think I look rather dashing in that lovely gear there. Very good. Just having some fizzy water today. Okay, so let's now move on to the position. White to play and win. And let's see if anyone can get this one. Just to prove I'm on the fizzy water, you can see the bubbles there. So don't. You know, I'm trying to be a little bit healthy for a while because I'm getting ready for the British Chess Championships. Me and also Adam Hunt, I see, is playing there. It's going to be very strong, the British Chess Championships, and it's about a month's time. So I'm not doing any chess training yet, but I'm getting into. It's white to play and win, by the way. It's puzzle. I'm getting into a bit of training just to try to, you know, just try to get in the right frame mood for this tournament. And so I need about a month's work to train for this. I mean, one of my dreams in life is to become British chess champion. Of course, it'd be like, you know, one of the best things, one of the biggest goals of my life. So I'm going to give it a very good shot. And okay, well, it seems like some of you come the answer. Koval Super GM, you are first on the Twitch channel. Well done, sir. If you know the answer, then well, do say it. That's good. Loner Druid, hello Loner Druid, my nemesis is there. Loner Druid famously beat me in a game, and got a very, you know, and well done Loner Druid for that. And the result here, again, let's follow the rule. These are puzzles, so you know there's going to be some dynamic winning crazy possibility in these variations. Adam Hunt saying 5 miles a day I'm running. At the moment, unfortunately, I can only run 5 minutes a day, but I'm getting there, Adam, slowly but surely, dear sir. And what you have to do in these puzzles that I'm going to bring up is basically just have a look for the most forcing moves. Remember what I just said earlier? I'm trying to give you a little bit of clue. You know there's a winning combination, so what do you look for first? Look for all the checks, and you've got to try to notice these patterns of like freeing all your active pieces. Now these two are the active pieces, and actually the key piece here is this bishop on c2. And the winning combination here is, well, this is a better queen sacrifice than the one I just played. It is actually rook takes h8 check, and the idea here is very beautiful. It's a line clearance sacrifice. You're trying to clear off everything in the way of the dear bishop on c2. I've just made it blue. Get in there, son. Never done that before. Yes, I love the colour blue, don't you? Probably one of my favourite colours. Blue and green. The green of the crops in Adam Hunt's house in Brighton. No, the crops of the fields, the grass, you know what I mean, and the plants. But I love blue, the sea as well. Lovely colour. Okay, so here it's a line clearance thing, and the point is, after knight takes h8, we have now the amazing move queen to h7 check, and the point of this move is to get the bishop to h7, and every move is forcing. It's a very nice combination, I think. The king has to take here, and now we keep looking at the most forcing move. This is quite a tough combination, so don't worry if you can't see this. It's very, very tough. Rook to h5, double check, and double checks are very forcing because your opponent has less possibilities, but it's a very I love this. It's a bit of beauty. I always try to find these beautiful puzzles, not just puzzles that are normal. I like to try and find something a little bit different that I find quite artistic. I love puzzles like this. And now king to g8, and here the winning move, very beautiful, bishop to h7 checkmate. I mean, imagine if you were able to play this checkmate in a game of chess. That would be absolutely fantastic, wouldn't it? That would be absolutely fantastic. I mean, it's the kind of thing I dream of, winning a British Championships by giving a checkmate like this. Like Magnus Carlsen won the World Championships by doing this brilliant combination, which you may or may not remember. And things like this are just, what dreams are made of, shall we say. Okay, right. Well, I'm going to give you one more puzzle, then I'm going to try play a long play game against one of you guys in the chat. So in order to be able to play a game against me, basically you have to be logged on to chess.com, so make sure you're logged on to chess.com. Get on in there on chess.com and tell me your handle in the chat. And also do tell me tell me your handle. Oh, thank you for the donation. That's very kind. Extra her. That's very, very kind of you. Hello from Chicago. Have a pint of me. Well, that's very kind. I will probably have a pint on you there, sir. Very kind of you. Thank you for the donation. Very good. And if anyone wants to donate on the Twitch chat, of course, you can donate below. Funnily enough, where it says donate. It's a bit of a clue, that one. For those of you who struggle to see these possibilities. But yeah, thank you very much. Okay, so one more puzzle, and then I'm going to take on someone in a long play game. And the idea of that is for me basically to tell you my ideas so you can learn, hopefully learn, from watching a Grandmaster. So get ready for that in a second. But okay, next puzzle coming up. So let me just set this one up, and I have to just paste it into the thing. So bear with me, and we will just get the next puzzle rocking and rolling shortly. So I just have to paste it in. And yeah, and remember, if you want to play me, do basically tell me your handle. Also tell me your ELO rating. It doesn't really matter how strong you are. It doesn't matter at all, because the whole point of these long play games is I'm just going to give you a glimpse of what I'm thinking. They've proved to be very popular, these long play games. Now the next game is taken from basically a game of Shabalov's. I'm sure you know Shabalov. He's a great attacking player from America, originally from Russia, and Shabalov had the black pieces. And basically, what is the best move in this position here? So black to play, what is the best move here? And there is a move that can come through. Thank you very much for the donation there, Shaklax. Hello to Denmark, and I will put that in my pipe and smoke it. Thank you very much. It's very kind. Cheers. All donations help, of course. They help me to do more streams and help me to do basically more stuff, and you can always check out my YouTube channel. There's loads of free stuff up there as well. And again, this game here, taken from a real match. Imagine you're black. What is the best move here? And I really like this move. Again, it's a beautiful idea, this one. And I think it has again, I'm trying to pick something with a bit of art to it. I have to say, KSY Soe, very well done, sir, in the Twitch chat. You have solved it. You found the right move, and it is the best move. Now, just to let you know how I got better at chess as well. Well, this is probably my favourite book of all time. I'm going to show you it now. And this is the chess book that made the most influence on me. And it's this little book here. There you go. This little book, sorry about the stain. I'm hoping that is just chocolate or something. You know, I'll try to get rid of the stain. It's been well read, should we say. Look at this. It's been well read. And it's a puzzle book. And it costs about £4 on Amazon. And the way I got good, and I think you can never go wrong by solving puzzles. Chess.com has got an amazing tactics training puzzle facility. I mean, you can go there if you're a premium member of Chess.com. Go on their puzzle training, try to solve their puzzles. There's loads of good stuff there. You can you know, basically go and check it out, you know. Also, what else, you know, I mean, it's just books. I used to just read a couple of puzzles a day, and my tactics after reading that book, my elo went up about 200 points just by working through it and not looking at the answers. If I couldn't work it out, I'd come back to it later on. And a lot of the puzzles I'm showing here are actually from a book I wrote. I don't really care if you buy it or not, because I'm not going to get any royalties anyway. I got a bit ripped off with this book, to be honest. Writing a chess book, I think the average pay you get for this book, I got about $3 an hour. This is how much I got for writing this book. It was terrible. But this is a book I did write, improving your attacking chess. And basically, it's the same thing. I've just got loads of puzzles in this book. Well, you know what a chess book looks like. Hello, Adam. Cheers, sir. That's very kind of you, Adam Hunt. You know, that means I'm going to have to buy you the next beer when I see you next, sir. Those of you who've got a good memory might remember when Adam did a stream with me. We did a stream a while back when we showed some stuff. I think it was quite an educational stream. Some of these streams are more educational than others, I have to say. But yeah, Adam's a very good player, and hopefully we'll stream again soon, get some gingers online. So thank you for the donation there, Adam. So anyway, yeah, I hopefully some of you seen the right move here. I've given you enough time to solve it. Really, what you've got to look for in this position, again, this is a bit tricky because the checks clearly don't work. There's only two checks. There's these two checks with the knight. Neither of them really do much, do they? I mean, if you move your knight to either of those squares, I'll just take your knight, and there's no obvious way to continue. So we got to rule out the checks, the most forcing moves. So let's have a look at the captures. Well, you could take on c3. That looks like a good move because we open up the white king. But then other things you've got to sort of start building is great vision in chess. So you've got to notice which of your pieces are doing a brilliant job. And the bishop on f5 is doing a fantastic job of trapping this king. And there's a very well-known tactical sequence where you should see for the weaknesses in your opponent's position as well. And one weakness that strikes me is the b3 square. This square on b3 is incredibly weak. And if we could get a knight there and the bishop wouldn't be able to take it, it'd be checkmate. So there's actually what I think is one of the nicest moves I've ever seen by Shabalov. And he now plays the absolutely stunning move, and this is from a real game, Queen b5, and that to me is just pure art. And the point of this is a distraction tactic, and it's trying to distract a piece away from b3, but you're offering your queen on an empty square to two pieces, but you are creating a threat. By the way, thank you again for a donation. You've been very kind today, guys. Aron Nico, thank you for a donation. That's very kind of you. Thank you. Very kind. All these donations, like I say, help me do more of this stuff in future. But Queen b5 it's just a lovely idea. I mean, it's not so hard, maybe, but it's a move where you're just moving a piece into the middle of nowhere. And let's have a look. Well, if bishop takes b5, b3 is now undefended. So knight to b3 is checkmate. And the same actually goes for knight takes b5, because we can see here now our rook is pinning the bishop, so knight b3 is checkmate as well. And this is just really, there's not much that white can do now, because our next move is actually going to be queen in to b3. I think the game finished something along the lines of d6, and now queen to b3. And oh no, sorry, that is checkmate in one move there. Let me just think what was played. Oh, that was it. It was queen d2. No, because that drops the bishop. What is the only move here, boys and girls? Well, rook d2 might be the only move. I'm just trying to think how the game finished. I could bring it up, but I mean, this is a very good, I mean, I think it was something, I think it was rook d2, and now I believe, let me get this right, I should have done my research beforehand, that, that was it. And now I believe the winning move in this position was knight takes c3. And the point of this is, if basically white takes on this square, the knight has now controlled d1. So we have this checkmate. Again, such a beautiful checkmate. Knight to b3 checkmate. These knights I love. I absolutely love knight checkmates. I think they're absolutely beautiful. And when we take on c3, well, next move we're going to go knight b3 anyway, and we're completely winning. So, for example, queen takes, knight b3 check, and if you take the knight, well, I take your queen, and again, it should be easy to see now this is the winning move. So it's really, this queen b5, I just really think is such a beautiful move. Again, I mean, I think chess has a lot to do with psychological thoughts, especially when you're playing competitive chess. And basically, competitive chess, my results vary like 200-300 elo points depending on my psyche. And one thing I found that really helps me before playing a very important game of chess, maybe for serious money or something else, is to imagine playing moves like this in the game, imagine winning and stuff like this. If I imagine basically if I imagine playing moves like this before the game, I get this kind of artistic feel before I sit down, and it makes me feel good about myself. So you've got to find your own way psychologically to help you play better moves. That, I think, it really does massively help. Okay, right, now I think it's time for a long play game with my thoughts. So let's have a look at who wants to play. So please, now, if you want to play, then do please now tell me what your elo is and your name, and I will give you a challenge in the chat. So let's say who's been good on the chat and nice on the chat. Oh, thank you for a donation there, Sir Pihot. That reminds me, I don't know where that name comes from, but it rings a bell. Thank you for the £4, and I will keep up the streams. Very kind of you. Thanks a lot, man. That's really kind. Okay, well, I'm just looking now at the names. I'll pick one of you. Well, I have to say, let's play against... I want to play someone new today. I want to give as many people an opportunity. Omar Alan Bey. I will play you another time. Definitely. I think you deserve that. But I'm just having a look on the chess.com chat. And I'm going to play a random person here, and, you know, I'm going to play Pawn SA Chess. So Pawns AC Chess, you're the first person I'm going to try to challenge at a long play game. And the whole point of this really is, guys, it doesn't matter about the rating of who I play. That's not the most important thing. It's about what my thoughts are, the way I'm thinking throughout the game, because I'm trying to show you how Grandmaster thinks, how I think, in order to trying to give you little hints of how you should think during a game. I mean, I'm not always right, but I still I'm still a Grandmaster some of the time. I still doubt myself occasionally. So I'm going to now see if Pawn, I can't remember his name now, I hope that was your real name, Pawn SA, whatever it was, is ready. So I'm going to give you a challenge. Let's see. So I just need to set this up. And so the challenge is going to Pawn SA Chess, and do make sure you are ready to play. If you are not ready to accept my challenge, I've sent the challenge over to you now, Pawn SA, so you've got to be ready to play, and it looks like you are ready. So we have a challenge. Okay, and another donation. Thank you very much, Sage of Runcorn. Where's Runcorn? In Sussex, isn't it? Is Runcorn in Sussex? That rings a bell, Runcorn. Again, thank you very much for the donations. I mean, they do mean a lot to me. And obviously, you know, it takes quite a while to prepare these things. And my opponent's saying hi, sorry, hello, Porn SHS. And thank you for donations. Right, so the idea of these, you might have seen them before. I talk through my process. I give you, I'm going to go into my mind. I give you as much information as I can. Another donation, Loris, good man. You guys are brilliant today. Thank you very much. It's great. Cheers, man. Very, very kind. Very, very kind. Thank you so much. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to play the French defence. Now, this is one opening. It's probably my longest love in chess. The French defence. I've played the French defence since I was 6 years old. I'm now 37 or 38, something like that. Can't even remember my age. 37, hopefully. Cool. I was born in 79. What does that make me? But I've played this all my life, and it's quite a solid start because you build this pawn chain here. So you get a nice sort of central hold on d5, but it doesn't make it boring. The good thing with the French from the black perspective is you can play it in a lot of different ways. For example, if I take on e4, this is a line which is very positional, reasonably boring, I would say. The classical variation is where black plays knight to f6. This is basically well, it's an interesting, you know, it's the popular line now. It's the most popular, it's the most played line, and probably the best move, to be honest. I prefer this move just because I'm British. One of my heroes was actually Botvinnik, opening wise, which a lot of people would probably not necessarily believe. But Botvinnik had many battles with this, the Winnoware French, against various strong players like Macau Tao, Botvinnik, going back to the old World Championships. Macau Tao played the white side of this, Botvinnik the black side, and it leads to very interesting positions. Now, Bishop d3 is actually quite an interesting little move here. It's a sideline. The main line is e5. Now, I would also say to my opponents, if you turn off the commentary, that would be, I don't know if you're going to turn it off or not, but you know, it'd be better for you to try to play a proper game as such. So you know, and try to you know, turn off the commentary. We'll talk about it afterwards anyway. But this is actually quite a tricky move now. Now I could take on e4, but I personally don't like releasing the tension. I prefer keeping the tension, and I like having my pawn on d5. Why take on e4 when I can do it later on? And the move I think I recommend, but my theory is a little bit hazy because I haven't actually played this for a while. But generally, the rule is in the French defense, you have 2 pawn breaks. Once you've created your pawn chain here, you have 2 pawn breaks. I'm going to make a lovely blue pattern here. You have, no, I'm not. That's not blue. Where's blue? Where's blue gone? Ah, oh, yes, thank goodness for that. This is the first pawn break you have to play in the French. You can't play the French defense without this break. This is aimed at attacking the center. The other pawn break that you have is f6, but you normally only do f6 when white has played the pawn on here. So my opponent is clearly doing some strategy where he's trying to keep the tension in the center of the board. So he's developing, he's playing very normal and natural moves. So my first thought is, what happens if I take on d4? Because that at least gets rid of one of his central pawns. So I'm just going to calculate this before I play it. Take on d4, knight takes d4. Now, I think this is okay for me. I could even try e5 there in that position, some e5 move. But I don't want to play just with my pawns when my opponent's well developed and I haven't got good development. You know, I want to get some of my pieces into the game. So I could take there and go knight c6. But one thing I always watch out for in the French, as soon as you put your bishop here, is some line where white plays queen g4. And I don't really want to allow that. At the moment, the knight's in the way. So the most natural move here, I'm not even going to calculate too many lines. must be to go knight to c6. But I'm a little bit concerned. If I go knight c6, he might take, and then he might castle here and get a rook to e1 straight away. So I don't want to allow that either. So this is why I'm considering. Now, is it time to take here? I don't know. I'm not sure. Well, I'm thinking here that I'm probably going to develop my knight because I want to aim to get castle. Now, my opponent is telling me his name is Leon, so hello to you, Leon. I'm just hoping you're not a computer. You're not a computer. No, please don't be a computer. Well, I mean, okay, but anyway, he's playing some tricky little moves here. So, you know, he's getting me out of the comfort zone which I'm mostly used to. And this is one of the good things about playing sidelines. Rather than following the openings of Magnus Carlsen, if you play little sidelines and you know them well, you're much more likely to get in positions you're more familiar with, and your opponent is more likely to make bad moves. So there is certainly advantages to playing sidelines. Now, I think this move is a very natural move because I can castle now if there's any trouble on the e file. Let's say he takes on d5. I could even consider taking with my knight now, but if I go pawn takes, he castles. I can castle before he gets a rook to e1 and attacks my king. That's why knight to c6 was not the move I wanted to play. I love this from Omar saying the French defense is boring. Well, I find this a bit strange. I don't think any opening is necessarily boring, except for the Berlin. I think the only openings that are boring, it depends how you play the opening. You can make any opening interesting. I love, my opponent has also now put something in the chat saying, I saw all your French defense openings. Videos. I saw all your French defense videos. Oh, that's got me a little bit scared there. He's watched all my videos. Should I be trembling? We don't tremble. We don't tremble. No, of course. Okay, well, I thought this was the best move. My opponent is bringing all of his pieces out. He's bringing them out very quickly. And the problem is, if I castle here, he's got this very strong move, e5. I don't want to allow e5, so I either take on e4 here, where the position gets a little bit calmer, it's probably about even, or I try to keep some tension, and I go h6, which would force him to capture on f6, because otherwise I've got g5 and I can win something nasty here. So I'm just going to do a little bit of calculation. h6, bishop takes here, queen takes, and I'm threatening pawn takes d4 there. So if he castles, pawn takes d4. I'm not even going to calculate much more deeper than this, because you don't need to. You know, some people say you need to calculate very deeply. I would rather save that for later on. This is a principal move because I need to get rid of the bishop on g5. It's a very annoying piece. And if my queen comes out to f6, I think that is fine, because I'm attacking the center and I'm pressurizing the center, and I can always castle kingside here. So naturally, I'm not going to double my pawns. I'm going to go here because I want to have the opportunity to castle my king kingside at a later point of view, a later moment. I say Kingstar is saying, what's your view on the King's Gambit as an opening, Simon? I think the King's Gambit is a fine opening in certain levels. Okay, hang on a minute. Let me just do a little bit of calculation before I start wabbling on about the King's Gambit. Okay, now here it's getting quite tactical, isn't it? So if I take on d4, is my opponent going to go check? Well, if he goes check, I go bishop here. And then we're going to get lots of exchanges. Now, if I take on d5, he will castle probably. I will take there and go c4. Positionally speaking, that should be quite pleasant for me. So I've got two choices, I think, here, really. I either take on d5 or I take on d4. So I'm going to look at them one at a time and assess which is better. I'm not going to look at anything else. I don't think there's any point doing that. I'm certainly not going to take on c3 yet, because there's no need to release the tension. The threat is stronger than the execution. So taking on d4 is the more tactical move. Well, my opponent could actually go knight takes d4 there. And that is a little bit annoying if he goes knight takes, because if I go queen takes, he has bishop b5 check. So that's putting me off pawn takes pawn. So I think I'm just gonna play this move. Now, pawn structure wise, I'm a little bit concerned about being left with a weak pawn on d5 if he gets time to take here, but I don't think he's going to have time to do that. For example, if he castles, which of course he has done, I'm now going to take on c3 because his knight is now stronger than my bishop. So I have to take here. And the idea of my play is, okay, it's not so tactical anymore, but I'm thinking, well, I'm hoping that my pawn structure, I certainly don't want to take on d4 here because that will undouble his pawns. He will take back. Why would I want to do that? The move I want to play and will play is this one. 2 reasons. My pawn structure on the queen side is better. Later on, you can see that my opponent's double c-pawns could be a weakness in the endgame, you know, if I can attack them. And also, probably more importantly, my opponent's bishop on d3 was on a very nice diagonal there, pointing towards my king. And by playing this move, I force his bishop back to a weaker square. Now, castling would be my normal idea here, but maybe then he goes knight e5, and that's the kind of move, you know, if I castle without thinking, something like knight e5 followed up by f4, his knight is very strong on this square. So why do I need to castle here? It probably makes more sense. And I'm always, basically, one thing grandmasters always do constantly is think about their opponent's ideas, nearly as much as my own ideas, and I want to stop them. So I want to stop my opponent's knight coming into that square, so I'm going to play knight to c6 first. I mean, there's no rush in castling quite yet. That will come. And my opponent's played rook here. So what's his idea? I'm always thinking about what's his idea. Well, maybe he wants to put his rook on this square. Rook here is trying to hit a potential weakness of mine. So I might play b6, because then I can go bishop e6 and not worry about this pawn. So, you know, bishop e6 seems like the normal square to develop my bishop to. So b6 looks sensible. I could go a6, but I don't like weakening the b6 square. You know, if he throws his rook into b6, I don't like that. I don't want to allow his rook in to my position. So b6 looks much more natural to me. I mean, castling, rook b5. I could sack a pawn, don't really believe it. And the other thing I'm thinking of here is I may keep options open, potentially, for me to castle queenside if I feel very brave. Because if I go bishop e6 and castle queenside, I have a natural idea of g5, g4, pawn storming on the king side, because his knight hasn't got the e5 square to come into. So that's certainly something I would consider in this position. But of course, that's very risky, and it's probably not the right way to play, because if you look at the pawn structure, which is basically how you should assess most positions to start with, the pawn structure, I believe, is better for me in the long run, because these are weak. Now, again, you have to consider so many things when you're playing chess, because it affects your decisions. Other things I'm considering here is that if I get to an ending, my pawns here are locked on light squares, meaning that if the bishops remain on the board in an ending, well, you know, he has some pressure against d5, so I've got to watch out for that. On the other hand, c2 is a big weakness to my bishop. But my next move's pretty much forced now. Well, I could castle queenside, but I don't believe it. Why do I want to do that? What is my opponent's plan? I think it's to go bishop here and knight here, but as soon as he moves his bishop, I have bishop g4 pinning. So, of course, now that he's threatening something like bishop takes c4, I castle. And, of course, this is the move that I should be playing in this position, just getting my king whacked over to safety. And now I just want to get my bishop out, not sure where. It could go to any of these free squares. I don't think it's good on b7 because it's blocked in by my own pawn. It doesn't have much future. I think it's even better on e6, even though it's blocked in. If I put it on e6, it can later come out here. Ideally, though, my bishop looks certainly best on f5, because then it might be able to sneak its way into this square. So okay, so what do I do next? So he's stopping my idea of bishop to g4. Let's just have a look. If I go bishop f5, he goes rook here. I always have rook d8 now. So I've got to develop my last piece. What is the best square to develop my last piece to? Of course, the most active square is f5. So I'm not really making any big decisions here. You know, I'm not doing anything special in this game at all. I'm just playing normal, natural, logical moves. And here my bishop does start to attack his backwards pawn. When your opponent has double pawns, it's normally the most backwards of those two pawns. So in this position, it's actually the pawn on c2, which is his weakest pawn. And that's because he can never move that, because he's got a pawn in front of it in the way, or it takes a lot longer to move it. He has to move this pawn on a c3 and then this pawn on c2, but he can't move either of those because the pawn on c4. So this idea is quite annoying for him. I may even have queen g6 really starting to threaten some long-term ideas in the future. So quite a simple start to the game, this one. I'm just playing normal moves, but again, you can't win all games through beautiful tactics. It's just not realistic in a game of chess. Okay, so the first thing I always do is look at my opponent's last move and figure out what is he trying to do, which I'm actually going to struggle to do, I think. Well, his queen either wants to come on one of these two diagonals. Now I'm going to assess, am I worried about either of those moves? I don't think so, because if he moves his queen to either of these diagonals, I take on c2. So I'm now just going to play a normal move to improve my position. There is an open file. What goes on an open file? A rook. So he's not threatening anything. If your opponent doesn't do anything that creates a threat, then of course you just improve your position. I mean, chess is really about two things. It's about restrain and push, restrain and push, restrain and push. You know, if you can restrain your opponent's ideas, if you can stop your opponent's ideas while you can improve your ideas and get your ideas into motion, then of course you're going to win the game. So this is why good chess players always think about their opponent's ideas as much as their own, and this is something that lower rated players fail to do. You've got to consider your moves just as much as your opponent's moves. It's so important. And as my opponent's not really threatening anything, this is a good move. I saw someone in the chat. Well, I'm not going to try to take anyone's suggestions, of course, because then I might be thrown off the server for cheating. But someone in the chat was suggesting an idea of trying to get the queen to a3. Obviously, that's not such a good idea now, but it was an interesting idea. And actually, I have to say the queen on d6 is a good square for the queen, because there is always potential of coming in and attacking these pawns. And maybe later on I could move the queen this way as well. But I don't think it's the most important thing to do in this position. So we've got to consider what my opponent's kind of running out of ideas here. If he goes bishop to f1, which looks like the most logical move, what will I play? Well, I could go rook takes rook, when my opponent can't take with a queen, because then c2 is lost. So he would have to go knight takes rook, bishop f1, rook takes rook. Okay, so my opponent is now actually sacrificing a pawn to enter it into an ending. And I don't think that's the right decision. I mean, I'm going to happily take the pawn. If you see a pawn, there's no reason not to take it, then take it. So I go a pawn up. Yes, my opponent does double my pawns. So my kingside pawns are going to be a little bit uncomfortable. But a pawn is a pawn after all. And now I have a majority of 4 pawns versus 3 pawns on the queen side. And when you have a majority of pawns on one area of the board, then you should always think long term about creating a pass pawn on that area of the board. I can't remember who it was, but one very famous player, I don't know, one of the old champions, I don't know, Philidorf, who was a famous player. He was so addicted to pawns. That guy absolutely loved pawns. Sorry, that was a little slip there. Pawns. Let's just clarify that. Philidorf, and I think it might have been him who said that when you have a pass pawns need to be pushed. So that's, you know, something to bear in mind. Okay, right. Well, my opponent's attacking d5. I could defend my bishop, but I think it makes a lot more sense to just move my one piece that's not doing anything and get that one into the game. So we're just going to move the rook to d8, and this looks very, very pleasant. I remember Philidorf said the pawns are the soul of chess. Who was it who said, there was a famous quote, when you have a pass pawns must be pushed. It was simple, but very, you know, very simple. Maybe it was Nimzovich, you know, someone like this. Now, guys, just out of interest, what are your favourite expressions in chess, or favourite quotes you've heard? I think my favourite quote, Shadoob to the water, is I'll tell you in a minute. Let me think about the move first. Okay, well, my opponent has gone here, and he's potentially trying to get his knight into f5. But now he has moved his knight away from protection of e1. He's actually also said in the chat that I moved wrong. So okay, well, I don't know what that was. Well, the problem is here. Surely now I have this very strong move, because he's placed his rook in a very unpleasant pin, and he has to now go on defensive. So I'm just going to try to increase my pressure now on this file, and he's getting himself in a whole world of pain now. Double rooks on the open E file, and I think things are going very, very wrong for my opponent here. I've got a very simple plan. Rook here, when my opponent's going to be totally tied down, as well as being a pawn up. Maybe the more important thing that my opponent's, you know, about winning this pawn on c2, maybe it wasn't the pawn that was important. The most important thing might have been it was the d3 square. That pawn on c2 was controlling d3, and now my bishop has a fantastic square there. Okay, so my opponent is still fighting on, and he's got king here coming. So, well, again, this move is so natural, I'm not going to think about it. And I expect my opponent's idea is king here, knight here, so he can defend his rook. So can I stop that? I'm actually thinking now of knight takes d4, pawn takes d4, c3, a crazy tactic. So let me work this out. Knight takes d4, pawn takes c3. Wow. Bishop takes d3. Again, complicating we don't need to is risky. So I'm not going to do this unless of course it's going to be good. I mean, my opponent maybe, I mean, the simple way to, no, I don't know. The other thing is I don't know. He's getting out the worst now, it seems. So knight takes d4, pawn takes, I'm getting a bit short of time, c3. Bishop takes d3. And this is where you have to be good at tactics, obviously. Do I have a good move there? I don't want to risk things too much. Rook takes e1, rook c2. I don't believe that's good. No, okay, I'm going to give up on that idea. It was a little bit of an idea. My opponent's idea is knight f3 and to move this rook. So my other idea now is to go rook e4 and just try to take a second pawn. Rook e4, knight here, takes here. Bishop takes d3. I mean, it'd be lovely to keep the pressure here. Rook here, knight e3. Can I not keep the pressure some better way? I mean, I could go b5, knight here, b4, and just try and force my way through there. Then it will go bishop takes here, and again, that's not looking so clear. It kind of feels I should have something very strong in this position because I have this pressure, but I can't see it at the moment. So maybe it is just rook e3, but I can't see this one really working so well. So I think I could put my rook on e4, just because if I win a second pawn, that should be very comfortable for me. But you know, I thought this was a lot easier than it is. I have to sort of win this game again, and the problem with chess is you have to win a game often, not once but a couple of times. You can never relax. Okay, so my opponent's defending that pawn, and I'm hoping this provokes some weakness, but maybe it didn't. So now can I go knight takes here? Does this make any difference? Knight takes here, pawn takes. c3, no difference here. Okay, so rook e3, knight f3, bishop takes here, rook takes e2. I can swap everything off. I'm a pawn up in a very promising ending. I mean, maybe I should do that. Knight f3, take everything off here, go b4. That is the way to do it. That's much better. Am I worried about knight to this square? Don't think so. Knight to f5. I can take everything off, bishop here. So I'm thinking b5 now, because what did I say earlier? You've got to try to create a pass pawn on the area of the board where you're strongest or have a majority. I have a majority of pawns on the queen side, so in this position I'm going to try and create a pass pawn at some point with the pawn push b4. So for example, my plan is, if knight f3, which is played, I'm now going to simplify everything off and go b4. I don't think there's a better move because he's threatening bishop takes bishop. I still have a fantastic position if that's played, but I want to just get into an ending, a pawn up, keep things simple, and then I'm going to try to get a pass pawn. Very simple play. I'm not really trying to do anything special. I mean, do I go b4 here? Do I go f5 here? They're both decent moves, but I don't see why. I'm going to keep it simple. I'm swapping everything off. I'm sticking to my plan. I'm going to get a pass pawn. Okay, so I've got a pass pawn. I'm going to get a pass pawn, definitely, when he takes. Okay, so now that gives me the opportunity of playing a5. And if he takes here, I can also take with a pawn now, which would be, you know, basically very good for me, because then I have a very, very nice pawn on c4. Now after the game, I will take a look at the game, obviously, and see where either of us went wrong or right. But let's try to make sure I win the game first. So b3 is the natural move, but can he blockade there? b3 takes, and then knight b2, then a5, a4. So b3 takes, king to c1, a4, king to b2. Oh, my mouse is playing up. Knight here, king to... I think b3 is just very strong. I'm just doing some basic calculations here. I mean, also a4 here is a tempting move, but I like this move. I'm just going to play this move. Again, some very simple calculation. If you again, what did Nimzovich say, or was it Philidor and the pawns? If you got a pass pawn, you need to push it, and that is exactly what I'm doing. And all I'm trying to work out is I want to make sure his king can't somehow get around here. Maybe his best move is to go king c1 immediately, but that looks very risky. Pawn takes pawn, king b2. Then somehow I have to activate my king in this ending. I mean, a glorious route for my king would be if I can come through this way, if I need to use my king. And generally in an ending you need to use a king. Now, a very simple rule for endings is, well, knight endings in particular, in this situation, the best pass pawn to have, he's played the best move, by the way, the best pass pawn to have is a rook's pawn. So let me just calculate some lines here. Now I could go here, then king b2. Notice his knight hasn't got any squares on the queen side. So here, king b2. Do I have some amazing tactic like here? Takes, do I have some break? I want to finish in style. No, here, king b2, knight here, king here. I don't think this is the right strategy for me. Well, here, you can never take that pawn because I've always got this one. So I'm just trying to stop him getting any plans. Now, the one thing I want to, I mean, this looks right to me. The one thing I don't want to allow is, you know, this is quite annoying. He gets some pressure against my pawn, so I don't really want to allow that. Do I need to rush my king into the center here in that case? Or should I be trying to get my knight maybe to f5? Is that the best way? I'm just trying to make sure I'm not worried about him taking here. Takes. knight here. Maybe I am. I'm going to play this first. This looks like a useful move to play. Let's do this first. If his knight ever comes to e3, I've always got knight e7, so I'm not too concerned about this, but I still have to find a way to break down his position. And of course, as some of you are pointing out, I'm getting a bit short of time, and I am a rather slow player. Maybe some people would say I'm just a rather slow person. Okay, right, so this is not as easy as I thought. So knight here. Now king here doesn't do anything, because if he ever takes, I've got b2 to take here. So I want to now get my knight to a better square. I've got to play with my knight. My knight wasn't doing anything on c6. It wasn't doing anything at all. It was a very bad piece. So he's played here with the intention of getting his knight to this square, which I was trying to stop by getting my knight here. But knight here, g4, is frustrating. So I need to find a way to... Okay, I'm just trying to think the best way. I'll put my king on e6, go knight here. That might be the best way to do this. Do I go f5 first and bring my king around? Because then I think I'm going to play f5 and try to actually get my king here. Then my knight can move again. So I'm going to go for this one. Okay, so my knight does a good job of defending. I need to use my king. And I'm trying to also, when I'm playing all these moves, I'm making sure my opponent doesn't have too many active ways to play. Now this move I wasn't overly concerned about, because I get rid of one of my double pawns, and later on I'm hoping that my h-pawn will become free. For example, another idea I've got now is king somewhere like e6, f5, because then I want to swap his g-pawn for my f-pawn, because in a knight ending, it's best to have a rook's pass pawn. Did I say that before? Did I say that before? I don't know. That's what I was trying to say in the previous one. When you're playing a knight ending, if you can get a rook's pass pawn, that is pretty unstoppable. And that's what I'm trying to do. So I'm trying to think what pawns I want to exchange. I want to exchange this pawn for this pawn, so this pawn is free. So I need to move my king. Where's he going with his knight? Is he going here? Okay. Well, I can go knight here now, and then f5. Does that help me? Then I got knight f4. And then my knight is quite active, so I got, okay, let's do this now. If I can take the opportunity to activate my knight, because he's gone passive, if I can take the opportunity to activate my knight, I will do. And I see that my knight ideally can cut to this great square on d3, because if my knight gets to this square, then it will support my b pawn. So my knight has found a much more active place. And also another positive for this is, because he's moved his f pawn, my king has a way in. Now what do I take with here? Well, if I take with this pawn, he might go here and take on a4. So I want to keep my pawns all defending each other, and I still have a very strong pass pawn. This pawn is a protected pass pawn. It's a very, very, very strong pass pawn. And I mean, I think this ending was probably always lost for my opponent. We'll have a quick look at it afterwards, then we'll finish off the show with some puzzles. Actually, we haven't got much time, but we will try to do that. But I think this is quite easily winning now, because there's no way my opponent can stop my king, for example, coming around. I just don't believe he can stop that. Let's do it. I mean, I'm going to hit this pawn. If I get a chance to take this pawn, I'm winning. My opponent moves his knight there. And now I'm going to go with the plan I said, because he hasn't got any active plans. My thinking is his king can't be active because it has to keep an eye on my b pawn. He has to stop me going b2, so his king can't move. His pawns can't move, so I don't have to worry about his king or his pawns, and his knight doesn't have anywhere good to go, because if the knight moves, I'll take here, and if he doesn't do anything, then I simply move my king in, I attack his knight, and my king will win the game. So this seems to be rocking and rolling okay for me. And like I said, we'll have a look at the game afterwards, and we'll finish with a puzzle. But my opponent's put up a tough game. He's actually saying, what if a3, my opponent, and he's being very nice in the chat. It's actually nice. I don't know how many times you guys have played someone who is a complete and utter nasty piece of work in a game chess. Oh, that looks better, doesn't it? You can't see my face anymore. sure. Okay, well, it was also a pleasure playing you there, sir. Thank you for the game. That's very nice. And my opponent was being very nice in the chat. But how many times have you guys played someone who is literally just horrible? You know, it happens too much. I can't get rid of this now. Why can't I get rid of it? Okay, there we go. That's better. Lonely time. So it's nice to play someone good. And okay, well, let's have a look at the game first. People are asking us to show over already. The thing is, if you look at my YouTube channel, what I'm planning to do, guys, and just to let you know, doing a show like this does take up quite a lot of energy. And what I'm planning to do at the moment, I have on YouTube got, I think, 19,000 subscribers, which is amazing. Thank you so much for those of you who have subscribed. It's really, 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 thank you so much for subscribing. But I was planning, when I get to 20,000 subscribers, which is only like 900 away, I say only, that's a lot of people, so do subscribe if you haven't, of doing some 12-hour stream. So I will do an all-day stream then when I get to 20,000. And also, as this is going out on chess.com, there's another show planned in about 40 minutes, and also it's coming up to 10:30 in England, and I've done a lot of work today. I've been working since about 8 o'clock, so that's a lot of work I've done. And even grandmasters need to sleep. Even grandmasters need to sleep. So yeah, I'm going to plan on doing like some 12-hour stream. I might regret that, but I'll give it a rock and roll. I did a 12-hour stream when I got to 10,000 subscribers. I had some great artwork from Chess. He might be here. Was it Cy Chessadelia? Did some brilliant artwork for me. I'm gonna do it again. Every time I get 10,000, I'm gonna do a massive stream, trying to give you guys something back. So keep an eye on for that, and do subscribe to my channel if you're not. And okay, well, let's have a look at the game. Someone asking what my job is. Well, funnily enough, my job is playing chess. Well, and doing chess, which is obviously not the best paid job in the world, but it's a job, and I like it, and that's why any donations and things like that obviously keep me afloat, or buy a DVD. And Chess Sciadelia, hello mate, is saying more stuff in the pipeline. Good stuff. But anyway, let's have a look at some critical moments of this game. So I'm not actually sure where my opponent went wrong. I think after castles, this position here, what he maybe could have done is play rook e1 check first and put the bishop on f1, because putting the bishop on e2, it seems to lose a little bit of a tempo. And I'd imagine now after knight to c6, I'm just better here because of the pawn structure, and also because I have this pawn on c4, I have a space advantage. So I have a space advantage. Actually, a good idea. I'll tell you what I do. Actually, Peter Ajax has come up with a good idea there. I think for my 20-hour stream, there's two things I like to raise money for. I mean, I struggle by here myself, but maybe I could. I'm arranging something in December. Very exciting. That hasn't been confirmed yet, but it's going to be what it looks like is a blitz event one day in the centre of London in a crypt. It's going to be in a church crypt, which is going to be pretty cool. So we're going to try to get some money towards that. But also, maybe I could jointly raise money in my 24-hour or 12-hour stream. Don't know why it's gone 24-hour. 12-hour stream for that event, and to do a charity. Maybe to a charity as well. It'd be nice to do a charity stream. Let's do that. Let's try to get some money for a charity, and that'd be a nice way to celebrate 20,000. I like that. Good idea. We'll do that. We'll do that. Definitely. Good idea. Okay, so I'm slightly better here. And let's just move on a little bit. I think here, my opponent, it's very hard to find a good plan for white here. And I already like my position quite a lot. Maybe my opponent should be doing something like queen to d2, bishop to f1. Something like this. I feel like the bishop here is getting in the way. Even bishop to f1 straight away seems like a better idea. At least then the rook can open up. I mean, if I was white here, I'd be looking at my pieces and I'd be looking at my bishop and my knight and be thinking, well, they're not doing much here. Can I get them to better squares? And the bishop particularly can get to a better square. So what square can you get it to? This is very logical thinking. I would probably try to get the bishop to g2. So at least I can pressurize this pawn. A good tip, again, if you're trying to find a target in your opponent's position to attack, especially a pawn, have a look at their pawn chains. For example, you could call these two pawns here a pawn chain. Look at the base of the pawn chain, which is the pawn on d5, and that is the pawn you want to attack, the base of the pawn structure. There's no point obviously attacking the front of the pawn structure because that pawn is well defended. So if I was white, I'd probably try to go g3, bishop to g2 and attack that one. That would be my plan. Okay, later on, let's get to the ending, because I think this position was pretty terrible for my opponent, and it's probably just winning this for me. Now, there was a tactical moment here where, tactically wise, I was considering moving with knight takes d4. This is my first idea because everything my opponent's got is defending e2. So if I can break down the defense of that, I will be able to capture on e2. But this is a very risky move to play, and it's quite hard to calculate deeply when you're talking and etc. That's my excuse. You know, I wasn't calculating deeply in this game. I would do in a proper game. And here I was thinking, if pawn takes d4, c3. And this is my idea, because I want to force this rook away from protection of e2. Because if you count the amount of pieces I've got attacking e2, I've got 1, 2, 3. 3 pieces. My opponent has 1, 2, 3 defending. So he only has one option here. But after bishop takes d3, in this position where he's got 2 rooks being attacked, I couldn't actually see a good move for me here. I wouldn't be surprised if I'm still doing well in this position, but it's quite risky because a bishop and knight are generally better than a rook. So because I couldn't see a good move in this position, I didn't take the risk. You should only risk in chess when there's not, you know, something, you know, clear cut. So if we go to the ending, let's have a look if he had any chance to hold it. I don't think so. The ending looked very bad. I think my idea of basically getting a passed pawn, get a passed pawn where you have a pawn majority is the best move. I think my opponent's last mistake was allowing me to get this very strong pawn formation. His best chance to defend was to capture on b4. But the problem with this is he might be losing this pawn, because this way his king has a chance of getting in front of this pawn and defending. But one of the easiest endings to win, actually, when you're a pawn up, this is a good little bit of tidbit, a little bit of information. When you're a pawn up in an ending, what is the easiest piece versus piece ending to win? So if we look at all the pieces, the knight, the rook, the bishop, the queen, which is the easiest one to win when you're a pawn up? Well, in actual fact, it's meant to be, and it probably is. If it's a knight versus a knight, such as this position, if you're a pawn up, that is supposed to be the easiest position generally to win. Then it's supposed to be bishop versus bishop of the same color, and then probably rook versus rook, and then queen versus queen, and then the hardest to win is bishop versus opposite color bishop. So that is generally something to bear in mind. Okay, well, right, guys, I think we'll finish the show with a puzzle. We might as well finish on some high. And let's set one more puzzle up for you guys. So get ready. This is your chance to get involved, see how you get on with a puzzle. So let me just set something up, and then we'll call it a day. And this lovely, very scary artwork here. I've got to get my artwork in order. I've got loads of artwork, but I've lost it. I had a computer breakdown. And basically I lost loads of artwork, and well, I've misplaced it. I'm not very good at getting things ordered in my life or in my streams. So this is something I've got to do. I've got to get the artwork that loads of lovely people have made for me ordered, and you know, some great people out there, you know, I should thank, like Aldo, like Christoph in the chat here, who Chess Delia, loads of people who've done great artwork, who I really must thank, and so I've got to get it on the thing. Okay, so let me, if you ever want to do a new artwork, of course you can. Just send it through to me. It's always an honor to do art, to get any artwork. We can't obviously pay too much because don't make too much at the moment. Maybe Ginger GM will one day, but not at the moment. Okay, so let's now move on to the puzzle, and it's white to play and win. So white to play and win. What is the right move here? White to play and win. Okay, white to play and win. Whoa, what happened there? Okay, and this one is quite an easy one, but again, it's a nice, beautiful, a beautiful one to finish on, I feel. So white to play and win. White to play and win. And what is the way to finish this off? And let's have a look again. You should be looking at the most forcing moves here. What is the most, and this is a nice way to finish the show. It's also, by the way, your last chance to donate, but I won't push it. I have to get in a little sales pitch. Come on, you know that you have to feel for me sometimes to get my little sales pitch in. And also, you can buy a DVD from the Ginger GM shop. Actually, something we're doing very interesting. We're coming up with a totally new idea, which we're holding secret, which involves lots of different ideas. It's going to take ages to create this, but I think when we do this, and there's going to be a new website coming up, it's going to be fantastic, I hope. And we're going to get lots of different people doing lots of different stuff. I think it's going to be really cool, but it's so much work going on. But yeah, it's going to be great. Well, okay, this is a nice puzzle to finish the show, and this is one of the, I think this is probably when I first saw this kind of checkmate, I was quite young. And this was one of the first times I realised the beauty in chess. I think my dad, who was a chess player, showed me this checkmate. And I realised just how beautiful chess could be. The so-called smothered mate, which I'm sure you're aware of. And this is a version of that checkmate. And the winning move is this beautiful idea, Queen G8 check. And we want to get our knight to this square, but we want to smother the black king. And this move, really, what can black do? Well, if he's only got two options. If he takes with the rook, then the black king is smothered, and we go knight to f7 mate. I saw a film 2 days ago. It was the Queen of Qatar. Is it the Queen of Qatar? I'm not sure the pronunciation, but this Disney film about this a young African woman from the slums in Africa, and who you know, who's very poor upbringing. It's a great chess film, really good, well worth watching. But one of the checkmates she does in the tournament is this checkmate, the smothered mate. It's quite nice. So anyway, the only other option is to take with a king. But now the king is lined up against the bishop, and you can actually get a checkmate sequence here with the two knights. And it's a very nice checkmate. If you haven't solved it yet, then have a go at solving it. Knight to e7 is the first move, and you're forcing the black king to make a decision. If king to h8, we go for the traditional smothered mate. And one reason I wanted to include this, because understanding and recognizing patterns is so important in chess. If the king goes the other way, if it goes to f8, then we actually have the same pattern, if you can remember, that Shabalov played. And this is why I tried linking different things. And the pattern that Shabalov played, can you remember it? His opponent's king was here, the bishop was cutting it off, and a knight got to this square. And you can see in totally different positions you have the same kind of themes. This is what's happening here. Knight check here, and after pawn takes, knight takes g6 is a very beautiful checkmate there. Okay, right, well, you know, I've been trying to follow the chat, but it's quite hard while I'm chatting and following two chats and setting up puzzles as well. So I'm going to call it a night now. I'd like to obviously thank absolutely everyone for tuning in. It's really good to see so many people tune in, so thank you. I will keep doing streams when I get a chance and I've got the time to do so, but thank you so much for tuning in. A special big thank you goes out to everyone who has donated. Thank you so much. Even small donations really help out, so thank you for the donations. It's really kind of you to donate a little bit of cash there. And I will be back. I hope you enjoyed the stream. If you want more, go to my YouTube channel. I had a disastrous day of chess today, but I'm sure it will be better in future. So I will, those of you who are wondering about my match with Danny Wrench, that will be happening in the future. At some point. Danny's obviously a very busy person like myself, and we will be getting that match going at some point. We have Rivals match. I'll try to get some more Rivals matches on the cards. Big shout out to Sai Chesdelia, who was one of the people talking about artwork. He made this great piece of artwork here, which is one of my favorite pieces. Sai Chesdelia, which is also a great name. Brilliant name. So good stuff going on there, and yeah, cool. Well, have a great rest of the evening, girls and boys, and I'll be back some point soon. Thank you for the last time. Good night today. I'll be back another time. Cheers. Goodbye.